Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube, and I'm back with another video for you guys. This is my character retrospective of Willie Loomis from the Dark Shadows revival. So, Jim Fay plays Willie Loomis in the 1991 Dark Shadows revival, and all these for the most part at least, these characters are getting what I might call a fresh coat of paint. They're sort of getting a spruce up, if you will. And what kind of spruce up was our buddy Willie Loomis getting? He's getting a pretty big one, actually. There's a lot of things to take into consideration when you look at the 1991 Willie Loomis and the original Willie Loomis. So let's tackle some things here. Number one, there is no Jason McGuire. That is out of here. There's no Jason. And sorry for the loud whistle. Now, in fairness, there's no Jason. Me and Christine Pierce and Cara Tilly's from Between the Shadows discussed this when we did the Dark Shadows movies. There's no Jason McGuire in House of Dark Shadows either. Now, is Willie the caretaker? Willie it works, we'll say loosely, but he's also related for the Collinses somewhat, but he doesn't necessarily do it willingly, and he's also related to somebody who is working for the Collinses. And you might say, wait a minute, Willie has a relation in this? That's the big difference. Keep in mind that in the original, Willie is brought in with Jason. Jason brings Willie into town with him in the original series. In the revival, no one's bringing Willie into anywhere. He's already there. And that's a big, big, big difference. So Jim Fay's Willie Loomis is actually related to Sarah Johnson, is actually related to Mrs. Johnson in this version of Dark Shadows. And some people might say, well, isn't that like they're making him Harry Johnson? Now look, I would never tell you guys what to think or what to believe. I will give you my opinion on this. Some say they're just making him Harry Johnson 2.0, and I could see that in some ways. But I would disagree in a lot of ways, and here's why. And I have to bring up Harry Johnson here. In the original, we were introduced to the son of Mrs. Johnson, one Harry Johnson. And look, there are characters you sort of tilt your head at in Dark Shadows. And let me tell you, this is the full-on Michael Myers head tilt when you think about Harry Johnson. In this Dark Shadows viewer's opinion, I honestly question whether Harry Johnson was actually related to Mrs. Johnson. Sure. She has his last name, but what the hell does that exactly mean? Do you see a photo ID? Do you see proof? Oh, this is my son, Harry Johnson. Harry Johnson. Come on. Look, the biggest difference, really, there's things that the original Dark Shadows doesn't do with Harry and Mrs. Johnson that the 1991 revival does do with Mrs. Johnson and her, I want to say, nephew, Willie Loomis. Now, to be fair, and that's a difference too, to be fair, in the original, Harry Johnson gets treated exactly like a redheaded stepchild, even by his own mother. There's not much of a relationship, if any at all. And I mean, you want to know where that relationship it is? It's on the train. It's out of here. It's waving bye-bye. I mean, their relationship is just so far apart, it's not even funny. And that's before words are even spoken, really. With the one thing the 1991 revival does really, really well is that there is an established relationship between Jim Fay's Willie Loomis and his aunt Mrs. Johnson, Mrs. Sarah Johnson. Sorry if I'm stuttering. Uh, Crazy times. So I think that's the one thing the 1991 revival does so very, very well here. Even after Willie lets Barnabas out, and I'll get into that, there is a great relationship between aunt and nephew. They care for one another, and you can tell that. With our old favorite Mrs. Johnson, the spy, and this is why I say Harry Johnson isn't really Mrs. Johnson's son. Listen, I secretly think Mrs. Johnson in the original series, if she had a chance to pluck Harry Johnson with a revolver, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, if you get what I'm saying, she would gladly do so and not think twice of it. Um, you all want to see a body? Great. No, Mrs. Johnson, I'm sure knows how to hide bodies, as well as she knows how to hide cobwebs. And, she does. So I really just think you can't, when you look at the lack of relationship really between Harry Johnson and Mrs. Johnson in the original series, that's just it. It's a lack of relationship. In the 1991 revival, and this is where I'll stick with the revival, so there is a great established relationship between aunt and nephew, and it's beautiful. It really is. It's one of the most beautiful things that, from a development standpoint, that is done very, very well. That doesn't get enough praise, really, when you look at the 91 revival. Now, is Jim Fay a thief? No. Jim Fay Jim Fay's Willie Loomis. Is he a thief? Is he somebody? No. This is not John Carlin's Willie Loomis. Now, he attempts theft, and I'd say that's the biggest difference. Where you get this with John Carlin's Willie Loomis and even John Hall's Willie Loomis, you get the sense that this person has committed crimes prior. With Jim Fay's Willie Loomis, you don't so much get that sense that this is a sort of first-time attempt for this young man. And so when he lets Barnabas out, obviously, is it the exact same way? No, not exactly. Again, he says to his aunt he's found where the family keeps their fort. He's sort of hinting around that he's found where family keeps extra money and he can get them out of there. Why would you want to work with these for these people? This Willie Loomis isn't just about himself. He wants to make a better life for his aunt and himself. I'd say he's not self-centered, at least in my opinion. If you guys disagree, please do. So he lets Barnabas out. I love the shot of Jim Fay's Willie Loomis laying on the ground. You could see the blood coming out of the neck, and he's just like he'll kick out. He does too. It's just a great scene. It's creepy, and it's like, hey, you just want to say, hey, Barnabas, there's a dead, you know what, never mind. There's a guy on the ground. Never mind, keep going. And as we see with Jim Fay's Willie Loomis and Ben Cross, this is Barnabas Collins, Jonathan Frid and John Carlin had great chemistry together. They were just amazing together. And you know what? I got to give Ben Cross and Jim Fay's Willie Loomis a lot of credit. Their chemistry was just as good as Frid and Carlin's. It was there, and it was beautiful. You want to talk about a really... And it was different, too. It wasn't the same exact thing. There was difference. And, Jim Fay's Willie Loomis, when he's scared, you can tell really quickly he's scared. With And I'm not saying John Carlin didn't do that. There's moments prior to releasing Barnabas, John Carlin does, like, wait, why did that stop? It's sort of a creepy look or a scared look, if you will. Again, there's just a lot of great things with Jim Fay's Willie Loomis. You know, him being related to Sarah Johnson, there's a family establishment that he has, there's a family connection he has. And when he begins to work for Barnabas, even Sarah Johnson, his aunt, notices the positive change in his life, that he's actually, working. He seems to have found some meaning. And I would say that is basically Jim Fay's Willie Loomis in a nutshell. This character really does have good meaning, and you really care for him too. He tries to make sure the house is kept up. You know, Jim Fay's performance in the 1991 revival of Willie Loomis for Dark Shadows, the DS revival, is great. It's really a fun watch. It's nothing to sneeze at, mind you. And again, I do think it holds a candle to what John Carlin did. Even though it's only one season, my one of my favorite parts in this is when you notice Willie Loomis is stuttering when he starts off in the beginning episode. Gradually, that's going away, and you can tell. And I love that basically what I'd like to believe that the 91 revival series was hinting at. I don't know if how many people have seen Midnight Mass. I'm sure a lot. Remember in Midnight Mass how people's ailments were going away because they were drinking vampire blood? I think because Willie had been bitten and his stutter had started to go away, some of the vampire DNA was sort of sweeping in and taking certain things away, like his stutter, like his inaccuracy to talk. And that is something I think the 1991 revival hinted very, very, very well and doesn't get enough credit for. Jim Fay's performance as Willie Loomis is golden, straight 10, dude. I mean, what a performer. Again, that's something I love. When I go back and I watch this, it's a fun little notice to go back and watch this character just work his craft, and especially opposite of Ben Cross. They're great together. They're like, again, John Carlin and Jonathan Frid had their own 1-2 punch. Well, so did Ben Cross and Jim Faze. And I hope you guys enjoyed this little character retrospective. I'm sorry if it's not too terribly long. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have a great day.